I'm a bit nervous, so sorry.
Oh, don't, hey, listen, I'm not good. I love to teach. I love to teach, but I'm really not a good lecturer, because I my brain just keeps, even when I'm doing it, I'm thinking about something new all the time. It's just always been that way my whole life, and I never just think about one thing. I usually think about 4 or 5. Well, all the time. And, isn't that crazy? It's just the way it is. Uh, so anyway, you're very kind to have this.
So yeah, I just wanted to start our introduction to extend my gratitude that you found some time to share with me talking about orthodontics and some inspirational and insightful things. And it's an honor to have the opportunity to gain some insights from your expertise and experience. And I want to say that you really changed my practice and my life when I started working with your system, and you continue doing it to thousands of people all around the world. And you're just making this world a happier place. So thank you for that. If you could look back retrospectively to the moment of inventing your passive self-ligation system, what challenges you wanted to solve with creating such a tool?
Well, that's a good question, thank you. It's a real honor to be asked to do this, and, when you really I have been very fortunate in life that ever since I was a little boy, I've always, had great satisfaction out of being a part of or feeling like I'd improved something, and to apply that to orthodontics. When I decided to be an orthodontist and I went into my residency, and I think the second or third day that I was there and I look around and I was looking at things, it didn't take very long for me to realize that things hadn't really changed very much or very rapidly. And when I looked at what was being done, I thought, "Oh, golly," I said, I thought we were beyond that, but we weren't." And so I was watching that as the first few months, and uh, I made the decision that I was just going to really study everything carefully at a very deep, level, and see and keep my mind thinking about how we might be able to improve what we do for our patients. That was a huge motivator to me. And over the period of time, and uh, it was it was so enjoyable to go to work because I was trying to improve. But it was hard to do that because early in my career, why it was hard to improve, my first and big goal was to be a good husband and to be a good father. And those were the things that really drive. So I didn't have time. I didn't really start doing a lot of things but until that came first. And then in 1988, I never will forget the day when wa I saw a patient that I had treated when I was first in my residency, and I've always followed with great records on everything I've done. And this woman came in, and 18 years after I had treated her, and when I looked at that, I said, "I can't continue. I'm either going to leave orthodontics and go back to general dentistry or whatever, but I have to improve things." Because when I looked at I was trying to apply the lightest forces that I possibly could, but here is this beautiful woman and she was living in Eastern Canada, and I offered to pay for her to come out. I wanted to retreat her. But that was the turning point for me that I said, Dwight, you have to really pay attention. And it was in 1988 is when I started making the move of trying to create something that lowered treatment forces. And it was exciting and very fun, and I feel very lucky that that those thoughts uh, came into my brain on occasion.
Yeah. So you mentioned that you always thought of being first a good father and a good husband, and what really stuck to my mind is last year with your words that with Damon Ultima you wanted to reduce chairside time, but not to give, not to start even more patients, but to free as much time as we can to spend with our loved ones.
Yes,
And
so true.
that speaks to me so much, and that tells so much about you as a person. So I wanted to ask, if you really love what you do at work, how to find that balance, life work balance, to save some time for the or
What I what I finally realized that I needed to do for that balance is that, family came first and all those things we've already talked about. But I realized that I had to, when I saw that patient, and I was following all my patients long term, and that's the way you really find out what you're doing. And when I decided that I was going to try to improve things, and I could see that there was binding and friction, the forces were too high, and had been thinking about it a lot. But how I approached it, family came first, my wife, my kids came first, but it just entered into my area of sleep. It just cost me, it cost me. I didn't sleep much. And I would never go work beyond 2 in the morning. And that's how I applied, and really how so many things that I was blessed that for some reason some of those thoughts came in my small brain. Big head, but small brain.
so the best way to predict the future is to invent it, and that's what I personally think you did. And I wanted to ask about the path of pioneer who you were. It's always hard to believe in something that others don't, and many brilliant inventors face circumstances where they aren't like, where their ideas aren't accepted, like their invention is not put into production, and there are many no's before the yes. And where do you think is that line beyond which an inventor can give up? What can it can be measured by time, resources, efforts?
Well, it's very interesting to me is that how professions accept new things.
Right.
That's been very challenging for a lot of people. I've never quite understood that, but that's the reality of life. And what I finally decided to do, because I was always questioned, I tried to take impeccable records. Like I was the first in the United States to have a CT scan. And I took impeccable records and I followed. I had a massive warehouse of all these cases. I treated 27,000 patients in my career, and I have records on a great number of them, and I really looked at them long term. And that really helps you start to really think, and how it became very obvious that we had to lower our treatment forces, that we had the binding and friction, and how we had to bend wires, and bending stainless steel wire wires. And when we finally Dr. Hisham Badawi finally invented something in 2012 that would measure the forces, and that's when I was really thinking that, there was nothing left to do, but when I saw the results of what that showed and how much force really clinicians that were trying so hard to do the best for their patients, I decided that I just had to keep going, and that's where Ultima came in finally, and it was a real blessing to me. I was lucky that those thoughts had come from somewhere, and, but it's I feel very good about it because I was able to do things for my patients that I was never able to do before, and that's but in so doing, to answer your question about what you do take some heat when you're trying to change things, not change things or just continue to get better. That was easy for me to do, but for a lot of people, once they learn something, they don't ever want to change. And I respect that. So what I decided to do is just keep smiling. Don't lock up and don't make an enemy and do that and just try to do the right thing and with relationships. That's how I tried to handle it. It didn't always work, but that's what I tried to do.
You mentioned that you were blessed with these ideas of Damon Ultima and firstly all the previous generations of the Damon system. And what milestones an idea must pass from this eureka moment to the production or for being recognized in the scientific or medical community? Because there's a big difference between creators and inventors. Inventors are the creators that actually have made their ideas pass through all those barriers that face them.
Yeah, that's a very good question. It's very challenging because there's a lot of steps along the way. It's just not inventing something. There's so many different things like figuring out the combi archwire. That made so much sense to me. And when you put it inside a parallelogram, I think I I told you before that the parallelogram idea came to me at 2:17 in the morning when I came out of a deep sleep,
Remember that.
and I just let a holler out and said, "Parallelogram," and my dear wife woke up and she says, "What's wrong? What's wrong?" I says, "I've got it. I figured it out," and that's how it came. And, it was kind of crazy, but it was so fun to capture that and to see it work and to be pleased, and I it's very exciting, for it to be helping people around the world treat their patients better. And what I'm very happy, and I hope in the future, that people realize, and I have realized, that orthodontics is way more than straightening a few teeth. It has to do with airway. It has to do with patient health uh, on a biologic level. I don't know all the reasons, but I'm very intrigued by that and have spent a lot of time trying to understand that. But what we can do is give people now with this new technology, we can give them uh, beautiful airways, and that has very powerful uh, uh, help to patients because I am told that over 70% of the world's population have airway issues. And that is an etiology of a lot of different illnesses, I think. And someday I hope that we learn a lot more about that. That's what I keep thinking about.
I hope so too. You mentioned your very first patient that you started with the first generation of Damon system. It was back in 1989, I believe.
That's when I started. What really helped me a great deal when I started treating with passive self-ligation, that was a real big step through. And what I took impeccable records, and not just at the time of treating, but I followed up and I would stay up late at night and I'd bring them in and I would treat the people well and I would show how they were doing. And that was very powerful because no one really had done to that level. And it helped create new thoughts of what was doing and the whys. Why were we doing this? Why is this successful or this isn't successful? It really helped to bottom line things.
Was it frightening or scary to start the first patient with this like new technology?
No, honestly, it wasn't because I knew that if I was lowering force, it was a step in the right direction. I didn't have angst. I wanted to do the right thing, and I followed them so closely. But it was I knew that we had discovered with passing something to cut binding and friction and forces, minimize forces, and I knew we were headed in the right direction. I just figured out how and why.
That's great. Um, I had the luck. You said that you're not a great lecturer or something. I believe completely different because your lectures were one of the most inspiring that I've actually really visited in my life. And I can't really remember a more inspired person and doctor than you are. I wish everyone to love their profession and what they're doing as you do. And my question is about the finding the job that you love. Every dream job is still a job, and probably with every job might come a burnout as well if you do it too much or in a in a very hard way, I would say, like if you spend too much time on it, how to prevent those burnouts, how to keep loving what you're doing.
That's a fabulous question. It really is. Uh, it's easy. When you can be a part of helping other people, okay, that is such a huge motivator. It is such, and doing it for the right reasons to help them come to another level. That's what drove me so much because it wasn't that I wanted any acclaim or that, but I just wanted for all of us to get better together, including myself and the people that I was around. And what when you do that and you don't sit down and say, "Oh boy, look what I've done." I never did that. When I got something figured out, I was on to the next gig, where I was trying to continue to make it better. And this last one with Ultima, with both in metal, and now we're just about ready to bring it out in clear. That is a huge thing for it because I think it's really going to change our patients' lives, and it's going to change orthodontists' lives as well as the people at work. It is such a wonderful place to go to work and where you're helping people. It's not about money or anything. Yes, everybody wants to do well, but if you can truly help your patients and if kids, you make friendships. You can't wait to get to work, and then you can't wait to get home to see your family. It's a good life to have.
Yeah, that's what you exactly said. Happiness is when you running as fast as you can from home to work to make the job done, and running even faster back home to see all the loved ones.
Yeah.
Thank you for all the love that you bring to the world, and it's just a tremendous conversation for me. A lifetime opportunity, actually. I came all the 30-hour flights over here for exactly this moment, and I admire and thank you
I
for
think
so much.
thank you for that, but yeah, I can tell you have a great heart and a great soul, and it's an honor for me to be here and to talk with you because, keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you so much. Thank you.